Hello everyone and welcome back. I've got my book. No therapy friends tonight because I've given them the day off. They earned it, I think. Now, I hope you remember where we were because I am not going back, alright? What are the possibilities then for reconstructing or salvaging a marriage which has been entered into without the benefit of this kind of analysis? Now, if you remember, we had a couple in the last video who weren't very compatible, to say the least. I presume they didn't break up, or did, I should say, as the book seems to imply, but sometimes people don't. It's quite sad, really, but that's life. Since no two people are exactly alike, the idea of perfect compatibility is illusory. The problem can perhaps best be stated in terms of comparative difficulties. It is difficult to work out the differences and make compromises, but it also is difficult to proceed with the alternative, the dissolution of the marriage. It's a lot easier now, of course. And it doesn't carry the same stigma it did around the time this book was written. One cannot proceed on the basis of rigid absolutes such as divorce is always wrong, because there are other principles involved which also apply. Insisting that a woman continue to live with a cruel and abusive husband and never find happiness with anyone else is to discount the importance of human dignity in favour of retribution. You made your bed, now lie in it. Now, I've always hated that expression, because it's basically saying that you've got to spend the rest of your life paying for some stupid little mistake. I mean, if it's like a massive thing and you really hurt someone intentionally, of course, then it's different, but most of the time it seems to apply to someone who's just made a rash decision, or just made a decision that seemed right at the time and turned out not to be. I see a lot of this in relationships, where someone's jumped in with the wrong person and saying they're told, oh no, you've got to pay for this for the rest of your life now. People are very judgmental about that sort of thing, as if somehow we haven't, most of us, I guarantee most of us listening to this video has jumped into some crappy relationship filled with red flags at some point in their life despite knowing this. No? Or is it just me? Oh well, on with the book. To insist that a man continues to support a lazy, vengeful wife who denies any complicity in the deterioration of their marriage discounts the same principles of human dignity. Again, as I just said, people can be terrible to each other. This is not to say that we cannot hold to the ideal of marriage as a permanent bond, but we must not see it as a license to trap people into an arrangement in which they are forever bound by legal but no moral obligations. Very true. Sometimes people do not begin to examine their marriages until they see the divorce advancing upon them. Then the comparative difficulties begin to emerge, and they begin to comprehend the nature of the choices that they must make. A miserable marriage may take the life of the gay divorcee, or the carefree bachelor seem grand indeed. Now I should point out, as this book was written in the 60s, gay most likely means happy. It did in olden times. Chances are he's just saying this person is very happy being divorced. And if your partner was indeed that terrible, then you probably will be. However, many people do form bonds with partners, even though they are horrible and terrible to them. They still draw a bond. I mean, it's only natural really to draw a bond with someone you spend that much time with in the first place. So there's no judgment on anyone if you are stuck with a crappy partner and you're too scared to leave. I understand. I'm not judging. This isn't the kind of place. Yet an impulsive choice on the basis of an unexamined assumption may lead to even further despair. That the life of the formerly married is not all it's cracked up to be is the subject of a book by Morton M. Hunt. It says at the bottom here, M. Hunt, he wrote The World of the Formerly Married. That's it. This author writes of the many realities following a divorce which must be considered by people contemplating divorce in order to make their decisions on the basis of a comparison of difficulties. The difficulty of loneliness as a recurring pain, the loss of old friends who do not want to take sides, the loss of children, the heartbreak of children, the financial ravages, the implications of failure, and fatigue of knowing one has to start all over. An adult appraiser of one's situation must take into account these realities. One thing I will say is that you should never stay together purely for the children. Because I've seen people who end up in who do have relationships, have children, stay together because they've got kids, and then their kids end up repeating the cycle because that's what they grew up thinking. Or seeing, I should say. They end up thinking, if a child is raised around a crap land, that's what they're going to believe a relationship is. That's how people end up with mummy and daddy issues half the time. Just remember, people, one thing I will say before I get back into it, we don't know what other people are going through, so just be nice if they seem difficult at times. Just be nice. Then the inquiry must be turned to the marriage itself. Very often only one partner is willing to initiate the examination, since one of the most common marital games is, it's all you. If one partner, say the wife, comes into treatment and learns about parent-adult-child, we then concentrate on ways in which we can hook our husband's adult and interest him in learning the language as well. For only on the basis of a common language can anything begin to develop on an adult-adult basis. One partner refuses to cooperate in this, the chances of a saving marriage are greatly diminished. But if both are interested enough to work at the marriage, parent-adult-child provides them with a tool to separate themselves from archaic parent dictates and by now well-established game patterns. One of the first things they may examine after they have learned the language is the marriage contract itself. The average marriage contract is a bad one, a 50-50 deal with emphasis on the bookkeeping. Eric Fromm calls this kind of marriage contract a trade-in of personality packages. Don't they make a good match? She'll be such an asset to him. Don't they complement each other? He trades his position with the Junior Chamber of Commerce for her contributions, as am I. Magnide, Helena, and Rubenstein are... Okay, I've just realised what this sentence says. We're going to start this sentence again, people. Now, I could edit this out, but I like it. I like to show my mistakes. And sometimes my edits do sometimes hurt like blunt instruments. I get that. Yes, and back to the sentence, alright people, this time we are. He trades his position with the Junior Chamber of Commerce for a contribution as an Magnide and Helena Rubenstein arm piece. I have no idea what that is. Jim, I know you're listening, so please Google what that is and put it on the screen for nice viewers, alright? Appreciate it. As such, they become things and not people in a competitive market. They must keep the 50-50 thing going, or the economy goes bust. This kind of contract is made by the child. The child has a comprehension of fairness of 50-50, but in its not okay position, it does not comprehend a more profound principle, that of unlimited liability for another person. Where one does not hold back with 50% but is willing to be blind to the score and give totally all the time to the partner in a community of purpose established by the adult. In a book of exquisite meditative thought, Paul Scherer, Brown Professor, Emeritus of Homiletics at Union Theological Seminary, expresses this idea in this way. Love is a spendthrift, leaves its arithmetic at home, is always in the red. Yeah, I can agree with that. Really can. The child, which is a get-love creature, cannot see love in this way. The adult can. There is an arithmetic of desperation in the world today, where everyone is asking for love but very few seem able to provide it. This is because of the continuing overriding influence of the I'm not okay, you're okay position of the little child. It has existed in everyone. You must keep in mind, however, The little person tries to relieve himself of this burden early in life by the original games as mine is better, and I've got more. It is true that a 50-50 idea begins to emerge, yet the not okay seems to crowd out the idea of fairness early in life. One morning my daughter Heidi, then 4, was about to have a treat with her playmate Stacy. They were both preoccupied with who was to get the bigger piece, even though they had been reminded many times that this kind of contest only led to problems. Mother then gave each an Oreo cookie. It was clear, even to the girls, that these were identical cookies. Yet, in the face of this sameness, Heidi still could not resist the protest she had begun and persisted. "Ha, I get the same as you, and you don't." This is the sort of hidden one-upmanship held in reserve by the child in the 50-50 marriage. The couple seeking to save their marriage must therefore enter into a collaborative effort to emancipate the adult, so that the not okay in the child as well as the troublemaking content in the parent of each can be examined to see how this archaic data continues to dominate and wreck their relationship in the present. Common relationship records are absolute declarations of "that's the way I am, don't try to change me," holding to a rigid "I am a grouch before my first cup of coffee," blames a person's faults on his nature, not his nature on his faults. A lot of people do that now. Have you seen the memes on social media? There's always at least one person who will often post a "don't talk to me before I've had my coffee," or "I won't be held responsible for my actions before I have my first cup of coffee," or that sort of thing. I'm sorry, but I don't care for that. Don't blame your shittiness on a lack of caffeine, people. People will just dislike you for it. The grouch before coffee racket runs every morning in many families. What could be the best part of the day, a send-off with enthusiasm to the task ahead, is instead a miserable, hostile bedlam. Kids go off to school grumping, husband rushes off to work with acid indigestion. Mother feels let down because she has just lost her captive audience. The fact is that no one has to be grouched before his first cup of coffee or any other time. He has a choice, once this adult is emancipated, that is. An old French song goes, "L'amour est l'enfant de la liberté." Love is the child of freedom. Love in a marriage requires the freedom of the adult to examine the parent, to accept or reject it on the basis of present-day context, and also to examine the position of the child and the trouble-making compensations or games it has devised to deny, or rise above, or to throw off the burden of the not okay. Married couples who enter group treatment do so for a variety of reasons. Some have heard about transactional analysis and come to learn something new. Others come in search of an answer to a vague but unsettling question along the lines of, isn't there more in life than this? Some come because their children are having trouble. Many come because their marital relationship is in critical condition. Many of the 37 couples who I treated during one 4-year period were contemplating or at least had discussed divorce as the only way out of their problems. Some began legal proceedings and were referred by their lawyers or by the judge of the domestic relations court. The crisis of 17 of these couples, 46%, was brought to a head with the admission of one partner to the hospital for severe depression and suicidal preoccupation or attempted suicide. 14 of the hospitalized patients were wives and 2 were husbands. In one case, both husband and wife were hospitalized together at their own request to keep things even. None of these couples had been married less than 10 years, all had children, and some had grandchildren. Now, this is where we finish the book tonight, or leave it tonight, I should say. But one thing I will say is that I think one of the problems people had in those days was that if you wanted a divorce in those days, you had to blame someone. One half of the partnership had to take the blame and say, yes, it was me who's responsible for this degradation. I think some countries in the world still have that law, and in a lot of countries people are fighting to bring it back. Personally, I think it's a good thing, because sometimes people just fall out of love and realise they're not compatible. It never really always grabbed me as a bit weird that one person has to take the blame. But still, things are getting better. So until next time, take care of yourselves, alright people? Bye.